What the Humphrey? We've got a great show for you today.
Yes.
With us is J.J. Humphrey, Representative J.J. Humphrey, that is. And he is a candidate for Lieutenant Governor. And so we are so excited to have him with us today. He's the bulldog of Oklahoma. That's what I call him. And so we're going to hear from him and see what he's been up to and see where he's headed. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Glad to be here. Honored to be here. So really excited about the race. I'm all over Oklahoma. Went to Clayton last night to a crawfish bowl. Had a great time in Clayton. Today headed to the Capitol. In fact, I think we're supposed to take pictures. How in the world, what the Humphrey is going on there? Because they're talking about closing it down before May. So generally when you take pictures, that's the last day. So they're telling us we're going to take pictures today, and that's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we've
I'm
got
told
that
it's
going
May
on.
8th. May 8th.
Well, okay, I hope it is May 8th. That would give you a little more time to get a few things done. But generally, I can tell you the day they take them pictures is normally the drop day.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's not good for some things, but it's good for a candidate, isn't it?
Well, the quicker we get out of there, it's good for me. But here's the problem: where budget stuff. There is absolutely no way that you could have done due diligence to the budget with this kind of time frame, because usually you get your House bills done, you move them over to Senate gets theirs over to you. We haven't hardly done any of those, and I've been gone a lot trying to campaign and be there, but they've just not done a great job there. But the budget, I've been there to vote some things on the budget, but there is no way anybody had an ability to look that budget over thoroughly and actually do a good budget to be out that quick.
Yeah, and this comment that JJ just made, I think, is just the tip of the iceberg in what I describe of JJ being someone who is always there to sniff out corruption, and then he attacks it. And I don't care what kind of corruption it is or where it is in this state. No telling how many miles he's driven to fight corruption in the state of Oklahoma. I really don't know anyone who's fighting corruption harder than Representative Humphrey.
So I know what you're saying there, but before we jump into that, I got a question for you.
Lay it on me.
So we have in Logan County, again, everyone, the most conservative county in the state of Oklahoma, with the largest per capita number of conservative leaders of any county in the state of Oklahoma. We have this meeting on the third Monday night of each month. Okay. And last year, I don't know, it's probably around September or something to that nature, you were invited that night to come and speak. And that's when you announced that you were running for lieutenant governor. And
seems like yesterday.
And to help you with your announcement, and Charles McCall was there that night also, right. Probably because he was there, Channel 25 was there covering that meeting. And the next day, they mentioned his name, but they never showed any of McCall. You captured all of the limelight, because when you mentioned that, to help you, this Sasquatch came out of
Charlie, I thought that's why the 25 showed up. I didn't think it's for me or Charles.
The
I thought it was Bigfoot. I thought they were there for Bigfoot. Absolutely.
So tell us how you got into this Bigfoot thing. So tell us what you did.
Absolutely. On this. So everybody thought I'd lost my mind. I laughed when I first ran this bill. So I put a bill out, and I'm going to share with everybody because this is hilarious.
Yeah.
We've got shell bills. We've got bills we never run.
Yeah.
So I made this shell bill, okay? And I put a hunting season on Bigfoot, and I put a $3 million bounty on him, but you got to catch him alive, unharmed. Duct tape him and bring him to me, and I'll give you $3 million, okay? So we put this out, but I run over there to Ty. Ty was the chairman for wildlife, and I went over and I said, Ty, here's what's going to happen. Not the lieutenant governor, but the wildlife commissioner, he's going to come over and he's going to try to talk you out of it. You tell him I already got the votes, you done approved it, and we're actually going to run it. So that's what happened, and the wildlife come to me, JJ, you can't do it. I was like, oh, it's done. I got the votes. He's done said I can. They come back to me 3 times. I said, go down there to the lieutenant governor And you tell the lieutenant governor, you tell old Matt that if he'll run this as a tourism project, we ain't got to run it through the. And so that's how we got everything motivated and going.
And it brought a lot of tourism to Oklahoma, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And the reason I did that, we have a Bigfoot festival in a town called Honubby.
Oh, yeah.
That's hard to pronounce.
I've been to Honubby. I've been there
It's beautiful,
times.
too, is it not?
It
Is beautiful.
All two houses or whatever.
Absolutely. Come off the mountain. And Bigfoot probably does live there. And so there's a big story. But that's why we ran it. But it has made astronomical money. And people, the first week or two when I did it, they was like, he's lost his mind. And then 3 weeks later, when they figured out what was actually going on, they were like, he's a genius. And I told them it's a fine line. I like to jump back and forth, you know. So, but it did really, really great things, not just for our economy, but for the entire economy of Oklahoma. You know, I don't know if you paid attention, but those Bigfoot, metal Bigfoots, and all the other stuff that's Bigfoot. If you go to Ho Chi Town, everything's Bigfoot. So it did a lot of great tourism. And I've got a whole lot more ideas how to expand on that. We can even do much better.
And this is why this is important. You're running for lieutenant governor.
That's right.
Yes.
And one of the big jobs of lieutenant governors is to promote tourism.
Absolutely.
I'd say.
Check.
Oh, and here's the deal.
I'd say Bigfoot pretty well qualified you for this job.
I got Bigfoot in the bag, and you got to get your own Bigfoot because I got mine, and you can't steal mine.
Did you get the $3 million?
No, I hadn't $3 million. I got to get my $3 million out of him by giving him the parades. I got him going riding a Jeep this week. Hope he don't get wet, you know. He
so that
stinks
night,
when he gets wet.
he had him in the back room, and when he, at the right time, Bigfoot comes stomping out there, and it was about a 6'6"
Oh, he's
guy.
he's Bigfoot. He's Bigfoot.
He comes right up to me, and I hold my hand up, and he slaps my hand, and
I'm working on right now how to get him to do autographs. I'm thinking about getting him a stamp. You know what I'm saying? With a Bigfoot with a Bigfoot, you know, this kind of bump where he can stamp so signatures.
JJ, when is this festival anyway? How do you spell Honubby?
Honubby.
Let's get you started in your new job.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm ready to build the tourism. So Honubby, don't ask me to spell it.
Oh my.
But
Honubby?
Yep.
That's the name of the town.
It really is.
N-O-B-I-E.
If you ever, in fact, I'm working on another gig on this. You ever watch that movie Hidalgo? About the horses, about the guy who rode the horse and all that.
Yeah.
You seen that?
Yeah,
That's
long distance rider.
Absolutely, a great movie. You remember that they were going to kill all those cavalry horses?
Yeah.
And that's why he won this race. And so he ended up purchasing all those horses. They turned them loose in the Blackjack Mountains, and that's where Honubby is. So just little in the suburbs of Honubby is another town called Neshoba, and so between Neshoba and Honubby is where they turn those horses loose.
Did you ever know Riley?
It's right in October, about the 1st of October. It's always right around deer season. I'm always kind of like, you know.
I'll book my flight.
Did you ever know Riley Donica?
I don't think so. No.
So he had a ministry to the nations. I forget exactly what it was called, but you know, there's a camp there, and it's got a
Christ 40 acres.
Yes, it's got a big pavilion there, and I went to that twice many years ago, and Riley and his son-in-law, or at least his son-in-law, were independent Christian churches,
right.
Which is in between Disciples of Christ and Church of Christ. And they would have an event there, and they would come, probably 1,000 or more come from all over the United States. And so the first time I went because I heard David Barton was going to be the featured speaker. And David Barton is one of the greatest Christian historians alive today. So I went to hear him, and I'm there, and turns out the mystery speaker was John McManus. And John McManus was the president of the John Birch Society. And so when it came time for John to get up and speak, they had made a rule, no ties allowed. And John got up with this tie on, and Riley Donica, everybody started hollering, tie. Riley Donica pulls out this big machete, razor sharp, walks up there, grabs that tie, and whacks it off. John says, "Thanks for the warning. That was my favorite tie."
Oh my goodness.
And then the next year, I went again because the next year,
Well, you got to go after that.
John McManus was the keynote speaker, and I don't remember.
He didn't wear a tie, I'm sure.
No, he didn't then.
You didn't wear the same one?
When I first got to the Capitol, they told me, said, "Hey, you can't wear these bolo ties," and I said, "No. I read the rules. It says tie, and that's a bolo tie, and I will take to the floor." And that was my very first something. That was right off the bat. I will take to the floor, and we can have a debate because I will win this debate. And they just like, go ahead and wear your tie. And so I wore. In fact, I'm pretty well known. I've got hundreds of these.
Yeah.
So I've got a
Well,
pretty good collection.
Pardon me for taking so much
Oh,
time.
no, that's a
on
funny
this.
story.
I love this.
That's absolutely.
Well,
But
if I might jump in,
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. It's
Yeah.
the nature, direction of this conversation. I'm hard pressed. I appreciate the humor at all with Bigfoot and all, and it's fantastic. I'm hard pressed to find tourism as a legitimate function of government. But on the other hand, what your passion is on rooting out corruption and all, and that is fair. That is absolutely the place of government. And to bring that skill, that passion, and the experience of that to the office is definitely appreciated and needed. Can you bring out some examples of how you have done that in the past, and then how you can apply that or take advantage of Lieutenant Governor's office
Sure.
to continue that work?
Absolutely. So one of the best examples of that is I have a really good knowledge of the Department of Corrections. And so I started calling all the prisons and saying, hey, called their HR and said, how many correctional officers did you have 3 years ago? How many did you have 2 years ago? How many do you have now? There's 23 prisons. When I got to about 20, they were like, JJ, we can't talk to you. I'm like, wow, you can't talk to a sitting elected official who at the time was chairman of corrections and just tell me how many positions you have. Is that not incredible? So I had to take the last 3 prisons and say, well, it's this size, so I've got one approximately that size, and averaged them out, and they come up with a pretty good idea. Called the Department of Corrections. How many do you got? Took me 3 months to get them to declare a number, which was like 300, which I knew was astronomically wrong. We spent the next 6 months arguing till they admitted it was 940. Now you multiply that times 55,400, which was the lowest package. And we didn't have all low. We just figured it a low being conservative. But anyways, we come up with, between that and the nurses, and we looked at probation officers, roughly, if I remember, padding about $80 million over a 3-year period. So $80 million per year. So again, that'd be about 240. And then the last year, the 4th year, I went in there and got a $43 million raise. I think it's the largest raise ever received. No new taxes, no new appropriation. I mean, not monopoly money, real money that was there, and that left 37. And so I'm after them, and they're telling me, JJ, you got your $43 million, just shut up and go on. Now, that's $277 million that we call unaccounted for. If you want to look at Department of Human Services, last year, $100 million unaccounted for. How can we have a state auditor? We have Loft that they created. We're less government, but they created another government just to be, just to be an auditor because they didn't like the auditor, okay? Mm-hmm. They didn't like her doing what she's doing, so they leave her over there, get their own audit that they can control and manipulate, because when they find stuff, they don't come out publicly and tell it, they manipulate it. So that's what Loft is. As Lieutenant Governor, you would actually be able to use Loft, turn it into an actual go-getter, you know. But $100 million unaccounted for. How can you have 2 auditing groups, all kinds of accountants, and have $100 million? I mean, I joke everywhere I go, hey, look at me, I'm pretty Western. I can track a horse, 2 horses easier to track, 100 horses much easier. 1,000,000 horses, if you can't track 1,000,000 horses, go get on the couch, you ain't no good. But 100 million, I always say, Ray Charles in the dark could find 100 million. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how in the world can we sit up here and say unaccounted for? Now, why is that important? Because we're talking about waste, fraud, and abuse. So everybody wants a big thing right now, and is property tax. Man, you go around this state, property tax is huge. So again, if you have a revenue stream, let's call it, you cut the revenue stream, guess what? There's two things you can do. You can either create a new revenue stream or you can cut services. Now, most people don't want their services cut, so how do we create a new revenue stream? I just gave you several hundred millions of dollars. Now, if we want to talk about broadband, I just turned in a report to the FBI on massive, it would be in the billions of waste on broadband. If we would look at our jails, what's going on with our jail insurance pool, guess what? We're getting hosed on that, and it's in the millions. And so we could go on. I could literally sit here and tell you just what and again, they won't let me have access. So like at the Department of Corrections, when I was turning them over on a bunch of stuff, they went and made an agreement with our House leadership. This is unbelievable. Our House leadership makes an agreement that I can't look at public records, that if I want...
Was that this year?
No, that was
Okay.
2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
And so basically, but they've continued it this year,
Okay,
Charlie.
okay.
They've continued on. So I can't go over there and look unless I go over to their office, view it, and sign a non-disclosure. And I've been asked to sign a non-disclosure on DHS stuff too. So why is a public records, public agency, they answer to us, the public, and I'm supposed to go over there. That makes me angry. And that's one of the things I'm running against.
So I want to ask a question on this now. Sure. Obviously, someone is wanting you not to be able to look at these things.
Yes.
Is this agency heads?
Yes.
Are other lawmakers involved in this?
Leadership. So what you've got is the agency heads hate my guts and livers, okay? Mm-hmm. Because I'm after them. I'm searching for stuff. So they're going over to leadership and, he's just raising Cain and he's just stirring up trouble and it's no good. And so I've been sending stuff, massive, not little bitty things, to the AG. It gets totally ignored. I send it to the governor. It gets totally ignored. I send it to our House leadership. Everything gets swept under the rug. Oh, well, JJ's just always griping. I will guarantee you, Charlie, I do not come. I've been to court. I'm a 35-year law enforcement officer and as probation pro officer, I've been to court bukus, and just because you say something, don't make it so. If you're going to say it, you better have the evidence. And I always say it like this: whatever I get would warrant investigation. All I'm asking, let's take a deeper dive and actually look. Mm-hmm. And I've always got the stuff that half the time they could already file charges on what I've got.
Mm-hmm. So let's try to take that one level deeper. Mm-hmm. Do you have, I don't know how much I want to ask you to speculate, but do you have an idea where these, for example, you mentioned $100 million. Mm-hmm. Do you have an idea where you believe it may well be going to?
Oh, here's where I think 100 million is just scraping the tip of the iceberg, let's say, because what I would really like to go over and look at is like the daycare, because we're closing all these private daycares, massive closings of private daycares, and they're sending all this money over to state-run daycares, which is massive amounts of money, is my understanding. And so again, why would we be doing that? I think they're wanting to get kids. I think they want to indoctrinate kids. There's some other reasons that I think. And so absolutely, I think a lot of that money is going there. A lot of the money, I think every state agency, and when we talk about waste, here's where you can just fix waste like that. So when I was in business class in the 90s, the early 90s, they had a lot of these companies that were going bankrupt. So big major companies, global companies, and they were going bankrupt, and they found the same thing, and they called it an upside down pyramid. And the reason is because they had started putting so many executives with these massive salaries up here. And so again, what happened, you had so few workers. When they're saying, hey, this ain't working, the mid-management was doing pretty good too. So they would stop any information because they wanted this utopia that everything's great. Hey, y'all just, and so things didn't work. They call that a log jam of information. Flip that thing back right side up. Guess what? the workers on the bottom, chiefs on the top, guess what, a few to facilitate. That's the way it's supposed to work. If we would do that with every state agency, we recover massive millions, every agency working. And here's what's happened, give you an example, mental health. So mental health, where's the beds? Where's the inpatient beds? We don't have any. I mean, they don't have it. If you go down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, walk in that office, there's a few people working in there and they ain't making no money. Come to Oklahoma City, go to that big office, I have checked it out, they making buku. So that's one of the ways we regain a lot of money is flipping that back right, lowering the amount of administration, boots on the ground where the job's supposed to be.
And that's the same problem we've seen in education from years ago, is that this upside down, with all the people making the money at the top. And I don't think we have to talk to Representative Humphrey for very long before the common citizen in this state should be very angry, because number one, he was elected to do a job and they're not allowing him to do the job. And then this money that they're talking about is our money. So the people of Oklahoma are enslaved to a system that has hundreds of millions of dollars missing, and we're struggling. We're struggling to pay our property taxes and purchase groceries and send our children to college. And yet the common Oklahoma citizen goes about their everyday job as a slave, giving more and more money to local, state, and federal agencies,
government,
and not paying attention to what's going on. Now, I love it when someone can take a title like Lieutenant Governor, who's kind of a glorified tourism activist, and will go after things that the Lieutenant Governor should be going after. And I think that opens a whole conversation to what you've talked about is the real job of a lieutenant governor. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, and does that give you more authority as a lieutenant governor to investigate than as a state representative?
Well, yes, and even more yes, because here's the deal. That is your title, is that you're head of the Senate as the lieutenant governor.
There we go.
And if you took that, because nobody wants, they're grooming themselves to run for governor. That's not what I want to do. I want to go in, find the waste, fraud, and abuse, and I could talk to what we were talking about all day long. Going to kind of slide on, give you an example. Another thing that we expect lieutenant governor to be is commerce director, and so our helping commerce, and we can do that. I can have fun. I can have a great time with tourism, but we have a tourism director. Let's let the lieutenant governor encourage him, give ideals, help out. Yeah. Commerce director, same thing. Now, I do want to say this. I don't know if y'all paid attention. The commerce director just got a raise. Now, this is stuff that infuriates me. Guess what kind of raise he got?
Well, probably pretty good size.
112%.
Oh,
so he was making $141,000. They gave him, if I understand right, $159,000 raise. How do you get that kind of deal? Y'all check me out on that. That's unbelievable. So that's
I think I could do a pretty good job on that, and I'd work for a whole lot less than that.
Charlie, if me and you could team up, we'll come as a pair, and we'll say, hey, we'll split that. Y'all get 2 for 1. We'll work twice as hard. Y'all get more money, and you'll have a lot more entertainment. You know what I'm saying?
This would be very interesting.
And when I say that, I fully retired June 1st of 2018 and went and spent all summer in Western Canada and Alaska. When I got back, I sucked at being retired.
Yeah, I think
so. I started
have.
another business called Charlie Meadows Enterprises, and there's 7 services, and number 7 is historian and tour guide. And I've used I-35 and I-40 to make 4 quadrants of Oklahoma, and I list about 30 to 35 places of interest in each quadrant. If somebody's interested in a tour, they pick the quadrant, and then we sit down and we talk about the 8 to 12 highest priority things they want to see in that quadrant for either a 1 or 2 day tour.
That's funny because I have actually already talked about it. I have solutions to everything. I always tell people I had
he really does.
I had a boss who was very wormy. He needed ivermectin. And so here's the thing. He had a rule. You don't bring him a problem unless you have a solution. He said if you don't have a solution, you ain't thought about the problem. So he'd talk to you about anything, but if you come in there without a deal, he'd just go out. Now if you had an idea, okay, we'd sit down and discuss the plan. So one of the things on tourism is I love competition. I love competition. So if we split the state up and they already have these tourism districts, but they're not promoting the local, like you say, man, we have lots of locals. So you start competition in how do you promote? Great, we love Route 66, but we got 1,000 things right off the way of Route 66 that you can go right over here and see where Bigfoot camped out, or you can go right over here and see where the hog pen shootout took place. You can go right over here and see where they hung our neighbor. You know what I mean? It's all kinds of, we got all kinds of things that, man, are of great interest. Cemeteries, people don't realize. Come down to Hugo and go to. I thought, man, going to
cemetery.
Yes, I was like, go to a cemetery. Come on, man, you know. But guess what? It's pretty entertaining. I had a good time down there.
What was it?
It's an elephant cemetery.
Oh yeah, you got
An elephant cemetery. In
Circuses
case you missed that.
used to winter in Hugo. They did that for years, and they've got a cemetery for elephants that die.
They actually have what they call the Art Foundation, where they put elephants that are no longer eligible, you know, just older elephants, kind of retirement home for elephants. You can go down there and stay, and the elephants will bring you breakfast and all. It's cool. It's cool. Nobody knows we've got it. We've got.
I love elephants.
Hey, I'll hook you up. I will hook you up. Get you.
I've
you
always
need to go
wanted a
down there
baby
on
elephant.
the rodeo. We got one of the biggest rodeos. Y'all come down to Hugo. Awesome rodeo. Stay at the Art Foundation. Let the elephants feed you. Go out. We got a cool lake as well. Got the Doak Cemetery, which is one of the oldest forts down there.
Yeah.
Guess what? I can just tell y'all, I know our area and I can promote our area like you would not believe. But every area has those stories, and so we could do that. Yeah. So again, I'm down with that.
I won't try to compete with that southeast quadrant with you.
Oh, I'm telling you, we've got.
You know, the reason my wife and I, for years, about 3 times a year, we'd take a little mini trip. And we'd go to some community that had at least a hotel in it.
Right.
And we'd stay all night. We'd go through the museum. I'd try to find some old fart to talk to that knew the history of the place.
That's the way to go to the coffee shop.
And we'd find a unique restaurant or something like that. And that's how, I don't know everything, but I've been over a whole lot of this state.
My son is highly functional autism. And so he draws like you wouldn't believe. So I've been trying to get him to go to the coffee shops, barber shops, talk to the older generation, and to get these stories, then come and paint them, and then put the story on the back so that you had that. I think that would sell awesome. But again, that's just ideals. I mean, those are simple. It doesn't take. We need to promote Oklahoma. We're not spending the advertising dollars. If you want to look at what made Ho Chi Town one of the #1 attractions, it's they had something really good that they figured out how to promote. Guess what? Oklahoma has something really good. We have deserts, we have forests, we have mountains. I went to Lawton the other day. I did not have any idea that they had that size of mountains over there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it's really cool.
Did you go up on top of Mount Scott?
I did.
Did you see Honey Rock up there?
I couldn't because the wind was blowing. I was having to hold my hat. The wind was blowing big time. And so, it was, but they had the Holy City. Yeah. Man, we could, how do I live? And I'm a history buff. Kind of sounds like you are too. So I'm a history buff. Love Oklahoma. When I had drug courts, when I had administrator of drug court, I made our drug court participants study American history, and I made them study local history, their own local history. Loved it. And so again, how do I live in Oklahoma and not know these things are going? We can promote Oklahoma. We got awesome, but we got to get a little broadband. I
have a question. Have we ever had a lieutenant? Have we ever had a lieutenant governor that was a law enforcement officer?
Yes.
At the same time?
Well, in a sense, Todd Lamb was Secret Service.
Yes, big time.
And,
but he wasn't at the time, though, right?
He had been.
Right.
He wasn't.
He had a very impressive background.
And you are an LEO right now.
I am a reserve deputy, yes. So I kept my reserve just because I like to carry a gun all the time.
What was your...
So I was a probation pro officer for 20 years. Okay. So that's a state officer. And then when I retired, my judge wanted me to take over drug courts. And so in order to take over drug courts, what I did, I went and got a deputy. I got with our local sheriff's department, became a deputy, and that way that gave me law enforcement ability while I was the drug court administrator, so I could go in, search, arrest, do all of those things for the county. And then when I ran, because I was mad at the DAs, still mad at the DAs, but the DAs are madder at me than I am at them, so I think I'm winning. But at the end of the day, ran for office, closed my business, ran for office, won. But I wanted to keep that reserve deputy status because I like to carry firearms.
What was your business?
So I had a business it's called Last Chance Supervision. So I did drug court contracts, I did private probation, I did GPS tracking, I did DNA testing, I did private drug testing for major pipelines, companies, and all of those kind of things. So had a multiple business going on there, pretty successful. Got mad at the DAs over DA supervision, which is illegal, and they know it's illegal. They've been told by the appellate court that it's illegal. They continue to collect money on that. The court told them, the appellate court, they filed a lawsuit against the Judge Stice in 2012 at Cleveland County. They lost. They appealed it as the whole DAC. They appealed it, and the appellate court told them the $40 probation fee must be used for the actual act of probation during the applicable period of time that the offender's on supervision. That means two things. It means, one, you can't cheat people by saying I'm giving you a service and not provide the service. That's called fraud. You'd think the DAs would know that, but they still do it. And then the $40 fee must be used for the actual act of supervision. So that means it's got to be used for probation. They collect it. They use it on their office. After I got uptown, up to the Capitol, I busted them on it. They changed the way they did it. They made an agreement with our House leadership. And so what they started doing is sending all that money to the DAC to Oklahoma City, to Fort, because I know this because I've tracked $55 million of it. So they send it to 4 accounts there. Then they turn around and send it to us at the Capitol to general fund. Then we turn around and send it back to them in their budget. Guess why? Because now they don't have to answer to that court order, because now it comes in their budget and they can use it however they want. So it's fraud. When it leaves their hand, they can no longer use it for probation. That makes it absolute fraud. Every one of the DAs or the majority of the DAs across the state are doing this. So it's absolute 100% fraud by some of the highest law enforcement people, the people we look to keep the rules, and who charge other people for this. And there's charges when they charge those monetary, they always have those elements, knowingly, willfully, intentionally. Sometimes there's maliciously in there. So guess what? They knowingly, intentionally, willfully take that money wrongfully, commit fraud with it, turn around and put it in the budget and bring it back. That's called money laundering. The fact that they made the deal is called conspiracy to commit a crime. So I can put three felony crimes on most of the DAs right now.
Wow.
Our AG says, well, no, JJ, you just don't understand the law. They can draw $40 a month, whether they supervise or not. What he's talking about, when they lost that case, a guy named, you remember Scott Biggs? Y'all remember Biggs? Yeah. Good dude. I like Scott.
He was a state representative.
He was.
Chickasha
yes,
area.
Chickasha, and he'd been an ADA down there.
Okay.
So he would come in right after that happened. So in 2013, he walks in there and files a bill that's called a prosecution fee. So they can charge a $40 fee, whether they supervise or not, but it has to be a prosecution fee. So it's not a supervision fee. The courts collect that. DAs collect the supervision fee, plus the DAs can issue a warrant for it. So guess why they want to keep the supervision fee? So they're playing this little shuffle game. We can draw $40 a month whether we supervise or not. That's a complete lie, because they can draw a prosecution fee, and they know this, but that doesn't nullify what the courts say. And the court said, if you draw that supervision fee, you must use it for this right here. They knowingly, willfully, intentionally violate that. They commit fraud. I've tracked $55 million. I think if anybody put their, if we could get a real accountant, I'm not you know what I'm saying? I'm just me up there trying to pass bills, running all over the state. If I can find this, we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. Yes.
Well, Representative Humphrey, allow me to back up a little bit.
Sure.
Now we're back in a little more serious tempo. Thank you for asking that question. You mentioned the idea of the legislative leadership, like we both chambers, actually acting as a buffer of sorts to prevent you from being able to do your searching, your investigations. What is their motivation? Why would they want to prevent you from doing the investigating? You would think it'd be to their benefit, serving the people.
You would think. I can give you examples of not just the money. The money's one thing, but we got to look at the services. What are these people here? And when we're talking about kids being waterboarded in Greer Mental Health Institution in Garfield County at Enid, we actually have reports of kids being waterboarded. I got pictures of them, eyes swollen, beaten black. Again, I wanted to have an investigation on that. They wouldn't do it.
Why not? But why?
Hey, that's a great question. And we've got a Payne County grand jury that I'm trying to get to the answer to that, because I want to know why. I suspect I could name you the name of 2 clubs that a bunch of people who have wealthy money belong to, and I believe that many of those are either contracted or have become directors and have left and now have very good contracts with. I tell people, y'all remember who Gene Stipe was?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Gene, he'd take a little bit, but you'd get a school built out of it. You'd get Jim. Now, he'd probably own the contractor company, you know what I'm saying? He was going to make money. They never had a piece of property he bought that the turnpike didn't go through, but you'd get a good turnpike, Gene might take a little bit, but he had some morals to where he did. Hey, this bunch right up there, guess what? They'd make Gene Stipe blush. I will guarantee you what they're doing, they'd make Gene Stipe blush. What I'm saying, I don't really know why. I suspect, and again, when you suspect, that's just an allegation. That's not even close. I wouldn't even put that in the allegation, and that's what we have to find out. When we know something's being done, the why is the motive. When you go to court, you're asking, what is the motive? I have suspicions on what the motive is, but that's where you got to go in and actually find the hardcore proof of the who, what, when, why, and where. And we do know, I'll give you an example. Justin Brown. I'm going to go ahead and name him. Justin Brown was the head of the DHS. Governor Stitt appointed him. He came in, the first thing he did. Now, we Republicans, and hey, I'm a Republican, but I want to actually practice what I preach, okay? So we say less state government, more local government. That's what we want to push. He comes in, DHS offices across the state. He closes all the major rural DHS offices, so less government local. Then he turns around and balloons that big building right outside the Capitol and back. I think he put a coffee shop. I love coffee, but I don't know that we need a coffee shop in there. So again, we built government up in the state level. We cut this at this level. And then when he left, I'm wanting to find out, does he have a company where he's getting data from the DHS? Because I can't hardly get anything from the DHS. In fact, they've just put me under 2 investigations, saying that I had to file one of the highest profile files, accused me of having it for 2 years and not giving it back. They come to investigate me, and I got out a chain email that said, please come pick up your file. Thank you for picking up your file. And they said, welcome. I was like, y'all need to go back and talk to them. That's how and they're doing that to go after me on purpose. They're trying to cause me problems, and I'm okay with that. Bring it on is all I can say. But at the end of the day, I suspect there's a lot of people making a lot of money when we're looking at broadband. They got a broadband, very political, that's over where broadband gets put into. The people who are on that own the companies that do this. I looked at money coming in about $1.3 billion with ARPA, COVID, and what they call BEAD money. From memory, and I got a lot of facts going on in my head, but from memory, I want to say that group got their sales 61% of that $1.3 billion. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that's a little sketchy in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, there's okay. We'll hold on to that thought
Sure.
for a moment. Okay, so you brought out 2 things, and I really want to articulate this for our audience. The first one is the whole idea of the inverted pyramid, where agencies get all staffed up with these high-end salaries, and for the one working down bottom that's actually doing the labor, right, doing the hard work.
Every agency
So
is
it's
like
Inverted
promoted.
pyramids are pretty unstable.
But hey, boy, I'm telling you, when you get it funded, you're on your way, right? That makes sense. I see a lot of that apparently in education. That's been quite the discussion over the last several years.
Absolutely.
But then you bring out the idea of contractors that are actually financed to do the work, okay? And the notion that they could be kind of high priced. And I would imagine, now you didn't say this is me speculating.
No,
but I have a feeling these contractors can be quite the financing companies towards campaign contributions of legislators. So that cycle is worth protecting. And maybe the legislative leadership is actually protecting that cycle because it keeps the system going. Yes, people are getting paid off, and there's a price for all this, right? But for the sake of keeping the whole system going, they'll look the other way and allow it to happen.
Can I give an example of what you're talking about? And you're absolutely you broke down what I said much better than what I did, okay? But I'm going to give you an example. Turnpikes, okay? And boy, that's a big issue right now. But when turnpikes start, you got to get approved by legislators. Okay, there's some approval going on, but you're going to have the engineers, you're going to have the construction, you're going to have the real estate, you're going to have the banking, you're going to have the bondsmen. You've got all of these people, and I've left out some. But they're all going. Now, if you look at each one of those, guess what? There's a pack for every one of those.
Yes.
And they give the pack. And so, again, well, how are they getting, well, guess what? All that pack money goes boom, right back over here. Now, here's what's happened since the 10 years since I've been up here. And this is just unbelievable. This is how we have lost control of our legislator. So for the last 10 years, they have managed to get all of that PAC money into the speakers or the pro tems. They are controlling 100%. When I first got up there, these companies would come, take you out to dinner. I didn't go to dinner with a whole bunch of them, but they'd take you out. They'd give you $250 here, $250 there. They did this to every legislator. And again, you could pay your gas and pay all that kind of stuff. And when I first got up there, I did a little bit of that. I don't even eat lunch with them now because I got accused of getting money from one group that I was like, hey, ain't no way that group gave me money. Oh, yeah, they did. And they said $800. I said, where would they give me $800 and I wouldn't know about it? Well, JJ ate all these lunches.
Yeah.
I was like, you're cheating, y'all. I didn't eat no 800 lunches, but I quit eating just
Took the football tickets or went to the Thunder games.
Absolutely. So I just said, I can fix that. Yeah. I just cut all that stuff out. So here's the deal. All these PAC monies go into that leadership now. It no longer goes leadership. If they like you, you will get that money. If they don't like you, and if you don't dance to their tune, guess what? You're going to get no money. And then leadership, we cannibalize our own. And I know people get mad and they don't want to hear this, but it's the truth. I can start naming names. They go after it. They came to me about 2 years ago and said, well, JJ, I guess you can have this as long as you want. And I go, what are you talking about? And they said, well, we tried to go down there and find an opponent against you. Ain't nobody, we couldn't get one. So they had all this money to take me out and they couldn't find somebody to take me out. And so they were saying, well, you can stay as long as you want. I don't want to stay if I can't get anything done because of that corrupt system. I want to get in a position to where we can actually shed light on that, where we can actually come up with solutions. I have solutions how to really fix that problem and how to make sure that money gets appropriately out there and spent correctly, and that we promote more transparency. Thank you. More transparency is what we need to fix the entire system. It's sunlight fixes a lot of problems.
I want to back up and ask a question about the PAC. I recently heard that leadership gave one of your opponents about $500,000.
I would not doubt that a bit. Here's what they do. They've got the Wolf Pack, the Marathon Pack. I mean, they got all kinds of packs that they got all kinds of money, and they're setting up there. And again, here's the deal. It's the worst kept secret in town. You've had one consultant who has a spider web of consultants underneath him. So
is that Found Holland you're talking about?
That could be who's been rumored. That's the rumor that we've been. That's the old rumor. It's a nasty rumor. But yes, that is absolutely.
So Bob and Charlie missed our meeting, our third Monday meeting in Logan County every month because they were in an important meeting in Oklahoma City. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And one of our speakers two of our speakers were asked who their campaign consultants were. And I know where the question was headed.
Yeah.
But the one consultant answered with a different name.
Yes.
And that person was hired by said consultant.
Yes.
And so they found a way around because
Yeah.
I knew who he was.
Yeah.
But no one else in the room knew. Well, I know Don Spencer knew, but
Yeah.
most people did not know that this person works for that person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do your homework.
That person's
I like
name
that.
has become
Third
radioactive.
Yeah.
And now he's getting some of his employees to use their names
Yes.
to try to hide himself. But I want to go to something on this. We, Jason Murphy was our state representative here for 12 years.
I actually served with you.
And the most conservative legislator, perfect 100 lifetime score on the conservative index after 12 years. But I can remember when a lobbyist brought a gift by and left it in Jason's his office. He had to run that lobbyist down, find him, to give that gift back to him. And so he put a sign on his doors. No gifts
Right.
from lobbyists.
I saw that.
See, when I got up there, Charlie, I wouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? If you'd have brought me a ring by or a watch by, or well, that's pretty cool. I mean, I would have thought, no, I can't be bought with the watch. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
I didn't think anything about it, but like I say, I had.
But
quit-
all the contributions and
Oh,
the
it did-
dinners and everything,
Well,
a lot
it's
of guys
appear-
say they can't, but
Well,
they
it's the
keep doing it
appearance
because
of
there are
it's
reasons.
the appearance of, and again, if you bring me
Yeah.
a watch, I'm gonna be like, oh, here's
Yeah,
my old
yeah.
buddy Charlie. You know,
Yeah.
sure, it's gonna get. I mean, I'm not bought, but
Yeah,
I'm that's courting, okay? That's courtship, all right? They courting you when they do that.
not marriage.
That's not marriage. They ain't married you. They gonna have to get the big check to marry you, but that's courting, and again, you get friendly, you know.
But one of the things that we're seeing now is more and more candidates right now for the legislature are taking this no lobbyist pledge. They're pledging to take no money from a lobbyist. And I hope, folks, that you look when you go to vote for your state representative or your state senator. I hope you check. I hope you ask them if they've taken a pledge not to take any lobbyist money, and if they haven't, you might consider.
I scored
you know.
very well on that. So the other day I was
Yeah.
speaking at a Republican speaking, and the girl who's put that all together and got it all scored got up and said that I was one of the top scorers out of
Yeah.
just not taking any
Yeah.
money at all. And again, I didn't come to that. You stay up there 10 years. I didn't walk in there with that attitude. I just developed, and like I say, for me, that one group that I just.
Well, this
you know,
is a more recent happening.
Oh yeah, it is. It's
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
because. But I want to say something to that, Charlie. We Republicans now. A lot of times we speak kind of like this. So one of the things we say is we want that, and I think we have to get that. We got to get these lobbyists and all the control out of the business. But here's the first thing you look at. Guess what? Jake. Merrick, my brain went dead. They wouldn't let him on the debate stage the other day because, and I'm you can vote for whoever you want. I'm just making a point here that they wouldn't let him on the debate stage because he didn't have so much money in his, and they've looked at me about that. Now I scored high enough on the polling that I was able to get in on the polling.
Yeah.
But had I not, I would have been left out. And that's, if we're going to actually say that we want to hear from those people who actually can change, who actually won't take. And for me, that's a big, when I'm looking, that's a big factor that I look is that they're not controlled. That, if they've been ran off or that they've been attacked by leadership, I don't look at it as a negative. I actually look at that, and I want to go to that why. What caused that? I'm not saying be blind about it, but go back in and do your research. Is that person being attacked because they're bucking up against the system?
Yeah.
Is that person being attacked? Because I promise you, if you do what you're talking about, those lobbyists, those big corporations, state chamber are all going to come after you and not want you in that position. So again, that's a very, very important discussion that we could sit here all day and talk about.
We can. It's all the same. This combination of this slow stepping of what I might call crony capitalism and even the American version of socialism coming together and marrying up, and slowly growing government and all its affiliates in there, and slowly, to a great extent, dominating is a real issue. And how do we break this up? So we're talking about. Well, I'm going to ask you about another area. I have no idea if this is nefarious or not, but it's frustrating right now. I'll get out there on the Ethics Commission's program or website known as Guardian. And when I do that right now, I was out there about a week ago, and I would do some search, and there's no history. When I looked, I checked out several names. There is no history out there, and we're waiting for the end of the month filing here for the end of April for the first quarter. All right. And this has been going on now for 6 months now? They supposedly trying to go to a new system, had to back out, so they're trying to bring back the old version, right? But it lacks the history. Can you speak to that? Is there
absolutely. Oh, golly. I don't think there's anything nefarious. In fact, I want to give the group there, and they've actually done several investigations on me, but I don't have any hard feelings because they got called in on that. Got somebody with some juice to do it. But here's the thing. How are you going to hold me accountable to the fact of man, I've been, the one time that I have been sanctioned where I had to pay a fine. In fact, in 10 years, I only got one violation, and that was because I turned in a report 12 hours late. 12 hours late, and I had to pay a $250 fine. Now we have 6 months, me trying to turn in my stuff, and they're going, hey, we can't take it right now. We can't take it. And then 2 days later, you got to have that in tomorrow, or you're going to be in violation. Hey, what happened to 6 months of chill out? You know what I'm saying? So, yes, absolutely. But here's where I'm at. And I think we need the ethics, but I want to see the ethics actually function and quit worrying about. Now, I got sanctioned the other day or got a reprimand because I made a video. Now, I made the video after hours. I made it in the front, so I thought a public area. So, again, I'm responsible for reading the rules. I'll take a thumping if that's what. But is that what we're going to concentrate in?
In front of the Capitol?
Yes. So
not in the Capitol.
And I thought in the front was a public place and that we were okay. That's the way I read it. Yeah. But I'm wrong. Okay, that's fine. But are you going to make a big issue? And here's what's funny. I got this really, really formal letter, which I don't think they normally would have done on an infraction. And how I got notified was through the media. Hey, you want to respond to this? I said, what are you talking about? And they said, well, this. I go, I don't know what you're talking about, Yeah. And then I was like, heck yeah, I'll tell you how I respond. They after me. They hate my guts and livers. And if that's the best they can find, then I'm doing pretty well. I'd say if making a video out there is what you got, I'm doing. Now, we're talking about millions. We're talking about 14 of my friends were terminated because the Republicans took them out with dark money.
Yep.
We got dark money coming in, millions. They're controlling our elections. Do we really need to be worried? Yeah. And I'm not saying, if they have something, fine. If I did a violation, let me know. We can fix it. I think that's, hey, Bob, quit doing that.
Yeah.
If we catch you again, we're gonna whoop you. Okay. now that's all I need. Little memo. Okay, it's wrong. But why are we gonna concentrate on that when we have all of this massive? And why do we have all these rules wrote up? And the other thing that I got, when I got the $250 fine, I got in a little argument with them. Imagine that. And I finally told the head person, I said, hey, let's just stop right here. Said, what are y'all going to do if I just tell y'all kiss my hiney? I didn't say hiney. And they said, we're going to take you to court. And I said, well, if we go into court in Atoka, I'm going to whoop you like a rented mule. I said, guarantee you, I'll beat y'all at Atoka. We don't go to Atoka. I said, well, where we go? We got our own court. I said, oh, you got your own court, do you? She said, well, it ain't like that. I said, oh, no, who pays the judge? And she said, we pay the judge. I said, oh, y'all going to have a fair and impartial hearing, and then y'all going to hang old little JJ, and it ain't like it. Yeah, it is. I mean, you call yourself ethical, do you? You call that ethical?
Yeah.
And then like ag department's got the same thing. I checked out the ag department, and y'all go check me and make sure I got a lot of stuff going on in my head. But I believe I looked at that, and they had 8 years, same judge, and guess how many times she had found for the public? That would be zero. Okay, 0. 100% found for the group that paid her. Now, again, if we want to talk about ethical, I'm ready to go up there and say, hey, let's actually get ethical. Let's hear from the public. If there's a real problem, let's fix it. Let's have real justice. Let's get real government that answers to. We forgot who we work for. We work for the people, and that's what my election's all about, is returning it to the people. They've got choices. If you want somebody that is pretty, if you want pretty, I'm not pretty. Come stand by me. I'll make you look pretty. I'll make you look tall. Come stand by me. But if you want a bulldog,
That's right.
I'm the bulldog.
So
we got to
we
wrap this up. But I heard, I didn't realize that they hated your livers in your gut.
That's serious hate.
But I heard a rumor. I heard a rumor that they actually love your gizzard. Is there any truth to that?
You know, I think there's some people who actually do have a little love. They're afraid to show it because they're afraid they might get a little retaliation up there. You know what I'm saying? So there's a little love. I feel a little love in the building,
Well, I'm willing to step out there and say that I love Representative Humphrey, and we absolutely knew that he would not disappoint this morning. And so we want to thank you for being here. I love his opening statement about the leadership in Logan County, and that we have the most conservative leadership across the state in Logan County. Charlie was a former county commissioner, and we were so blessed to have him in that role, and lots of other roles. The creator of Oak Pack, if you know about Oak Pack, and then Bob has been such a fighter alongside through the GOP in Logan County, and is down at the Capitol a lot. He
Longtime vice president of Oak Pack too.
Yes, and he should someday be in the Capitol, I believe. And my friends call me a truth seeker and a fighter, and that's one of the reasons why I love JJ so much. We're going to have another person on Wednesday. John Eccles is running for AG, and we'll hear from him. And just as we wrap this up, where can we find out more about you, and how can we help you?
Oh, absolutely. So if you want to go to JJ Humphrey Facebook, or we've got a brand new, we had a little problem with our webpage, so we got a new webpage. It's jj4ltgov.com, jj4ltgov.com. And you can go on there on almost every of the big topics. We not only write out what we want to tell you, our stance is, but we also do a short video so you can either read or click on the video and see where I stand. I want to be transparent. We're not taking a lot of money, so if you want to go to that webpage, you want to donate, hey, $10, $5, guys, this is a grassroots. If you want to donate, we don't mind $3,500 if you want to, but again, you don't have to, because we're looking for real people. We're looking for the public. We want to answer to you. And again, we want to start that grassroots movement together. We can actually pull off a miracle. I think we actually can win this. There's a pathway, but it will be a miracle if we pull it off, because I'm going to be the lowest funded. But I do want to say about Logan County, guys, I decided to kick off my campaign in Logan County because I do believe they are some of the most active people. I've been up here 10 years, and this is one of the best groups. Murphy that we're talking about, I actually read a lot of his stuff and get a lot of ideas from him. So again, this is a very, very fine group to look to on how to run government.
Representative, thank you for your time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Very much.
Yes, sir.
See you all next time.
Thank you, JJ.
Bye-bye.